My friend, the Eagles are about to make a decision about a Super Bowl champion who may be getting overlooked, and one of Philadelphia's most respected insiders is urging the franchise to think twice before pulling the trigger. We're talking about a wide receiver who stands 6 feet 6 inches tall, weighs 231 pounds, and moves with a combination of size and body control you almost never see at the position. A guy who was an essential piece of the Super Bowl LIX championship run, and who now has to prove to the world he can come back at the same level after a season lost to injury. If you follow the Eagles closely and don't want to miss a single update from this loaded offseason, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel right now, because this roster decision could define how Philadelphia's offense operates in 2026. Let's do it. We're talking about a wide receiver out of Florida State, a 6th-round pick, 185th overall, in the 2024 draft, standing 6 feet 6 inches tall and weighing 231 pounds. An athlete with a physical profile you simply don't find off the shelf, the frame of an outside receiver with the agility and balance of a slot, a combination that made the Eagles organization fall in love with him from the very beginning of the pre-draft process. A Super Bowl champion in his rookie year. His name is Johnny Wilson. Before the Eagles, there was Florida State. And before Florida State, there was Arizona State, where Wilson spent 2 seasons catching passes from a quarterback who would go on to become the number 2 overall pick, Jayden Daniels, now leading the Washington Commanders. Wilson transferred to Tallahassee and became one of the pillars of a Seminoles program that went 23-4 across the 2022 and 2023 seasons. He was a 2-time All-ACC selection and formed a formidable duo with Keon Coleman, now with the Buffalo Bills. In his final 2 college seasons, Wilson racked up 84 receptions for 1,514 yards and 7 touchdowns. The size, the hands, the willingness to block, all of it was already there. In his rookie year in 2024, Wilson was an essential piece of the Eagles' championship run. He wasn't a star from a statistical standpoint, 5 receptions, 38 yards and 1 touchdown, but he played more than a third of the team's offensive snaps throughout the season, was an elite blocker in the running game, and earned the trust of Jalen Hurts and the entire coaching staff. He left that season with a Super Bowl ring after the Eagles dismantled the Kansas City Chiefs 40-22 in Super Bowl LIX for a 6th-round pick. That was an absolutely remarkable start. But here's where the story gets complicated, my friend. Wilson entered training camp in August of 2025 absolutely on fire. The evaluations were unanimous. He was on track to lock down his spot on the 53-man roster with ease, and some believed he could push for playing time in 3 receiver sets. According to ESPN's Tim McManus, Wilson seemed poised to be the Eagles' 4th wide receiver behind A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Jahan Dotson. Everything was aligned for his breakout. And then, on a Tuesday in August of 2025, the news nobody wanted to hear arrived. Wilson was carted off the practice field in a wheelchair, unable to put any weight on his left leg. A serious knee and ankle injury. Season-ending surgery. 12 months of rehabilitation, silence and uncertainty. Just like that, all the promise of that training camp was gone. Now we're in May of 2026. Wilson was activated from injured reserve in February. And when the Eagles' cameras caught him at off-season workouts, Anthony DiBona of Philly Special, one of the most respected insiders covering this franchise, posted on X that Wilson was squatting and moving at close to full strength. That's an encouraging sign. But DiBona didn't stop there. He made the argument directly. He's not sure Wilson's roster spot is even guaranteed given Philadelphia's revamped wide receiver room, but he believes the Eagles' running game really missed his blocking ability last season. And that sentence, my friend, is the heart of this entire story, because the context of the Eagles' receiver room in 2026 has shifted dramatically. Let's map it out. Devonta Smith remains the anchor, one of the best route runners in the NFL. A.J. Brown is almost certainly being traded after June 1st. Jahan Dotson left Philadelphia to sign with the Atlanta Falcons in free agency. And Howie Roseman didn't stand still. The GM brought 2 significant new names into the equation. The first is Makai Lemon, the number 20 overall pick in the 1st round of the 2026 draft, the largest draft investment in a wide receiver the Eagles have made in years. Lemon arrives with enormous expectations and will receive every opportunity to establish himself on the roster from day one. The second is Dontayvion Wicks, acquired in a trade with the Green Bay Packers on April 10th, and immediately extended on a one-year deal worth $12.5 million. Wicks comes with legitimate production credibility and a contract that says a great deal about the confidence Philadelphia placed in him. So given that landscape, what is the realistic space for Johnny Wilson on the 53-man roster? That's the question the Eagles are going to have to answer before training camp. And this is where DiBona's argument carries weight that goes well beyond a simple depth chart analysis. Wilson is not just a wide receiver, he's a blocker. And not an average one, a genuine blocker, the kind who moves linebackers and corners when the Eagles need to create space for Saquon Barkley. In 2024, Philadelphia had one of the most devastating running games in the entire NFL. Barkley rushed for 2,005 yards in that historic season. And if you watch the Eagles tape carefully, you see Wilson at the point of attack, making blocks that never show up on a stat sheet but create the conditions for those 15, 20, 25-yard runs that Eagles fans celebrate. That's his fingerprint on the offense. In 2025, without Wilson available, the Eagles' running game suffered. That's not placing the entire weight on one player. Injuries, roster moves, and Barkley's availability at certain points all played a role. But the blocking layer at the wide receiver position is something that rarely gets discussed and makes a massive difference in Nick Sirianni's scheme. Wilson fills that role better than almost anyone on this roster. Think about it. How many wide receivers in the NFL stand 6 feet 6 inches tall, can run routes and create separation, win 50-50 balls in the air and still block like a tight end? That profile doesn't exist in abundance. It's no coincidence that the Eagles valued Wilson enough to keep him on the roster the entire year while he recovered. The organization believes in this player's potential. But the challenge is real, with Lemon arriving as a first-round pick demanding development snaps, with Wicks bringing a contract and an expectation of immediate contribution, and with Devonta Smith holding down the starter role as he always has, the fourth wide receiver spot is far from guaranteed. Wilson is going to need to show up to training camp with everything: health, confidence, and consistency, to earn that spot. Any hesitation, any sign that the knee isn't 100%, and the conversation can shift quickly. The real question becomes, what is the risk? And what is the reward of keeping Wilson? The risk is clear. You're holding a roster spot for a player who still carries a health question mark after a serious knee and ankle injury. But the reward? An elite blocker, a rare physical frame that can create leverage at the point of attack, and a young athlete with a championship mindset that was forged inside the Eagles system during one of the greatest moments in this franchise's recent history. Anthony DiBona is right to ask the Eagles to think twice before cutting Wilson. Not because he's a guaranteed offensive contributor, he's not, but because the role he plays in this offense goes far beyond routes and receptions. With Saquon Barkley still being the backbone of Philadelphia's attack, having a blocker of Wilson's size and caliber on the field can make an enormous difference in how defenders set up against the Eagles. With the 2026 roster battle approaching fast, what do you think the Eagles should do? Does Wilson deserve a chance to prove his health and reclaim his spot? Or is the new wide receiver room already strong enough to leave him on the outside looking in? Drop your opinion in the comments. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I'll be back later to update you with the latest Eagles news.